All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and I want to just give a kind of brief synopsis of the May the 4th rewards that are coming. There's some really juicy stuff going to be happening here over the next couple of days that as a player, especially if you are free to play, you really need to understand the way that these double drops are going to happen and the day of triple drops. I want to make sure you have the right mindset going into these things. Make sure you're understanding the way that you should be hoarding your energy, spending your energy to maximize your potential rewards here. And we'll also just kind of show you what those May the 4th rewards look like outside of just the extra drops. Because there's a lot of stuff. They normally knock May the 4th out of the park, so we want to make sure that we're ready for that. Let's give a huge shout out to our channel members, as always, for their continued support. If you're ever interested, y'all know where that link is. It's down below, along with a link to our Discord. I really appreciate all you guys, keeping the faith, believing in me, going through the thick, thin, good, bad videos. Y'all are the best. I appreciate it. Let's get in here, and let's talk about some May the 4th rewards. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my screen capture here. So we're going to be getting, of course, this, May the 4th. There's going to be deals going on for 2 weeks. So if you are somebody who spends money, you've got 2 weeks to really cash in. There's going to be giveaways. And then here's what we can expect. Underworld Legend and the portrait of the Holotables Guardian. That is actually hilarious. This is great, right? This portrait of Cup, this is awesome. Character shards. 10 each of all the new Bad Batch, General Syndulla, Huyang, and Padawan Sabine. I really want to pay attention here to the ones for Hunter. Hunter is in the Cantina, and I had said, hey guys, I'm waiting around for Hunter. I don't want to be spending these 10 shards of him. That's, a refresh or two of farming. So that when you think about that through what crystals were spent and everything, that's about 200 crystals. And while that doesn't sound like a lot, if you're free to play, that's a big deal, right? So I did want to call that out. And of course, we're getting our Clone Wars Chewbacca shards because we must have those. Relic and mod materials. We are going to get 10 Zeta ability mats. So again, 10 Zeta ability mats just to set the expectation because sometimes, people don't quite grasp what that actually is. They're talking, when they say mats, they're referring to these things, right? That's a Zeta ability mat. They're not giving you 10 full Zetas. You're going to get 10 mats. So one, you're going to get about a half of a Zeta. We're also going to be receiving 100 of all the different mod slicing materials. And if you're curious what these ones are, these are all the pieces that take you from like the gray up to 6 dot. So it's these pieces in here. If I was to go to my mods, let's just click here and go out this way real quick. If I was to scroll down and enhance, I guess I can't slice that because let's just call that 15 real quick. If I was to slice this, see these pieces, power chip, fusion discs, those are all kind of, rewards. Yes, it is nice, but 100 of those, it's not groundbreaking, but, you're going to get all of that. I would actually say the biggest part of that is the 100 Mark II pulse modulators, because that's 100 of the pieces that you need to go from 5 dot to 6 dot. So that's about 5 mods worth of resources. And again, just to kind of show you what that looks like, if I flip over to the game real quick, right? I like going back and forth. And if I enhance, there's your Mark II pulse modulators. Getting 100 of those is pretty friggin' nice. I'm not going to lie. That's a solid one right there. We are also going to get 50 white signal data, 20 green, and 15 flawed. That's a good amount. I'm not going to say that that's knocking, the park out, but that's a solid amount of resources. I'd probably say that's about 2 days of farming in the Cantina, maybe 3 days of farming. So that's a pretty solid, it's extra resources, right? Relic mats, 3 droid brains is huge. 5 Gerda keypads, 3 error magnifiers, 3 error magnifiers, 3 impulse detectors. Those are nice. 5 Zimbato cards, 5 Electriums, 5 Erodium heat sinks, 20 chromium transistors. That's all mediocre, right? None of this is, I'm not getting, anything crazy there. 75 bronzium wiring and 100 carbonite circuit boards is very nice. Those are 2 resources a lot of players do really need. Then you've got 10 million credits and 1 million ships. That's, okay, cool. Then we're going to get all of these assault battles. Peridia Patrol, Duel of the Fates, Fanatical Devotion, the Forest Moon. You're going to get all of your assault battles I'm assuming that you're going to get these as bonus, not including the normal cadence, right? So where my mindset is here is that this is going to, we're going to get each of these twice this month. So you're going to get it for the May the 4th celebrations, and we're going to be receiving them through the normal cadence that shows up every month. So for the people who have the Peridia Patrol and Duel of the Fates, that Relic 9 tier is going to hit like crazy. So you are going to want to pay attention for that. But the big reason everybody's here is for the double drops and triple drops here. We're going to get double drops for 2 days, and we're going to get triple drops for a single day. So we're going to talk through kind of the strategy you're going to want to employ here, because it is going to be important that you understand the strategy behind the double and triple drops. So now I don't have a handy dandy spreadsheet of, hey, this is how much energy you hoard, because there's plenty of those out there. I don't feel that is value added to my channel at this point. There's enough players, really good content creators like Calvin Awesome, Egnards. They've got those out for you guys. So instead of creating something there, I want you to go watch their stuff as they talk about that. Here's kind of where I want to spend my time, is get you to think about 2 concepts here, right? 2 concepts, and then I'll kind of show you, just some ways to spend this stuff. Number 1 with this, in my honest opinion, you're not going to want to just hoard all the way through triple drops. You're going to need to do the first day of double drops, and then we can start to kind of take the second day almost off, and then we'll hoard into triples. And I'll kind of explain why we want to do that. It really just comes down to the amount of energy you can hoard, and you'll end up missing out on more rewards than you could earn with triples, because it's only, you think 2 to 3. If it was maybe quadruple drops or 5 times drops, then it's a different situation entirely, and you just hoard for that. But because it's just an extra little bit, the 2 days that you would be missing out on would actually cost you more resources than just, spending as is. So what I will do, I'm going to hoard for the first day of double drops, right? We're going to do our normal hoard for double drops, and then I'm going to just blow all of my resources, all my energy on that first day of double drops. When we get to the second day, I am just going to do bare minimum. I'm going to almost do nothing until right before my reset. I am going to buy all of my energy to then use it on that final day. So you're sort of missing a day of double drops, but you're kind of banking on using you're not even really missing it. You're just not capitalizing on the refreshes, and we're going to use them on the day of triple drops. The one thing I will say here in regard to this plan, I think for the Cantina, for mod, this is perfect, right? To kind of, do it this way of just hoard all your energy for Cantina, and mod on that, second day of double drops. Don't do your refreshes until later in the day, and then at your reset, just, hammer them. But when you're thinking about, character shard farming, if you're character shard farming, which I am, you're not going to want to give up a day of double drops. It doesn't make sense to do that. So what I will be doing for my characters like Omega, Batcher, and Wrecker, the Mercenary, the ones that are farmable now, I am going to farm them on those double drop days, because it doesn't logically, because you can't, you're going to have to do there's only a limited number of refreshes available. It's still smarter to kind of do your shard farms every single day, because you can do a limited number of attempts, right? You've got to start spending the refreshes, which, not that the refreshes won't be worth it, but you'd be silly to skip an entire day of double drops on a node to then try to get ×3. That just, I'm not going to buy into that. But for something like the Cantina, that's a much smarter decision, because you're not capped as to how many times you can try these nodes, right? So, and here's where I want to kind of end on, is talking through the Cantina here. I will link this spreadsheet below. There's a whole video that went along with this, but when you're doing your Cantina in particular, it costs 200 crystals, right? Your 200 crystals for your second amount of refreshes, right? Your first refreshes are 100. If I was to come in here and try and refresh, it's 200 crystals. Now, On a normal day, that does not make sense based on your shipment cost. That my shipment cost for for white signal data is 15, for green it's 20, and for blue it's 30. Right? That's based on, the crystal costs over here. By the way, these are old screenshots, right? Those are very old screenshots because I need to know when that's from because, gosh, that is awesome. But if we look here, I've got 5, 3, and 4. Yeah, we're pretty bone dry right now. Thank you to the Imperial Remnants for that. But anyway, side note. In a normal day, it makes sense to do your 100 refreshes because I only need to get, almost not even 7, average 7 white signal data from those refreshes. 5 green and, 3 1/3 blue. And I've always kind of said, all right, I normally get roughly 11 when I do white, 8 when I do green, and 4 when I do blue signal data, right? That those are kind of, if I spend 100 crystals, that's roughly how much I get. And this kind of calculates, all right, how much did you save comparative to your, if you would have bought them in shipments. So the idea being, if I spend 1,500 crystals on Cantina refreshes for blue signal data, I've saved roughly 250 crystals. And then for white and green, there's the numbers. Even if you change the blue rate, if I would change this to 5, I'm still not saving as much as I am in white signal data. So, that's why I always recommend buying the blue signal data, is because it is the one that is the least, you're getting the least amount of benefit from farming it in Cantina comparative to the other 2 colors. But on ×2 drops, you're getting the double the drop, but you're going to do your 200 refreshes. So your crystal cost, like this is my crystal cost of, getting 11, getting 8, and getting 4, right? This is kind of the fat fill cost of, all right, based on my drop rates, how much is it actually costing me? On a 2 times drop rate, it's still the same as you spending 100 on a regular day. That your cost at those drop rates is the same because you're going to get twice the rewards, but you're paying twice the value. Where I want you to be very considerate here and very mindful of is for these triple drops, it is actually smarter to do those 200 refreshes for the Cantina. It's, smarter to spend those because you're going to spend double the crystals for 3 times the rewards. So if you are a player where you're going to struggle with crystals, the ×3 day is where you're going to want to make sure that you capitalize the majority of your bonus refreshes, because you're going to be saving significantly more crystals comparative to what your normal rate of farming is. For those ×3 drops. So I did want to make sure I got a video out, at least kind of covering this from a crystal perspective of where you can be, where you're going to make your money, if you will. Because I think a lot of you as free to play, your mindset is probably, okay, I've got to focus on the triple drop day, but I think you'll end up missing out on too many rewards. Egnard's talked a lot about it, so go check his thing for the real math. I'm just kind of referencing, hey, go watch his stuff, but this is the way I'm going to plan on doing it, is I normally don't do my 200 crystal refreshes in Cantina during double drops, simply because the cost is the same as a regular day, and I normally don't have that many crystals to spend. During this time, I will 100% for those triple drop days be spending my crystal refreshes up to the 200 tier for Cantina and getting as much of that stuff as I can for those ×3 rewards. So if you don't get anything else out from this video, 200 crystal refreshes on the ×2 day is going to be the smartest decision you can make in Galaxy of Heroes to get as much signal data or character shards out of the Cantina. So, guys, that's the video. A lot of May the 4th rewards coming. I'm very excited. There's some new events even coming here. This one in particular where you're going to be able to earn, looks like some crystals, character shards. Like, that's great, especially because for those of us who need shard shop currency to buy frickin' Datacron materials, like, that's even better, right? Actually, that basically just means extra data cash for me. But that's the end of the video. Like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.